So let's talk about something really interesting today, the quiet courage of flawed heroes.
You hear it all the time, right? People asking, where have all the heroes gone? It really can feel like we're living in an age without them. But is that actually true? Well, the common thinking goes something like this. We just know too much now. We see all the complicated, messy, human parts of our historical figures. And once you see their flaws, how can you possibly call them a hero anymore? But here's a thought. What if the problem isn't with them? What if it's with how we define a hero?
Okay, so let's try a different definition. Let's reframe this whole idea. Heroism, it's not about being some perfect superhuman straight out of a comic book. No, it's about something way more real. Just regular, flawed human beings, like us, choosing to put other people before themselves, even when the cost is enormous.
And that's the key right there. See, heroism isn't something you are, it's something you do. It's not a state of being, it's an action, a single moment. It's found in one courageous choice. And when you start looking for it that way, well, you realize history is absolutely full of these moments. I mean, just think about it. You've got General Eisenhower the night before D-Day. He makes the choice to write a letter taking all the blame if the invasion is a disaster. Or how about John Hancock? He chooses to sign his name on the Declaration of Independence so big that the king could read it without his glasses. He was basically signing his own death warrant. Then there's Sitting Bull, who made the choice to defend another people's right to practice a religion that wasn't even his, making himself an even bigger target. And of course, Rosa Parks, her quiet, powerful choice to simply sit down when she was told to stand up.
And sometimes that courage isn't even a physical act. Sometimes it's an act of belief. Just look at Anne Frank, hiding for her life, surrounded by a world that wanted to destroy her, and yet she still finds the strength to write, "I still believe that people are really good at heart." To hold on to that belief in the face of that kind of darkness, wow, that's a kind of quiet heroism all by itself.
So what's the common thread here? What connects all these people? It's pretty simple, actually. None of them woke up that morning with a plan to be a hero. It wasn't on their to-do list. They were just regular people who were suddenly faced with a moment of truth, a really tough choice, and in that moment, they just did what was right.
And there's perhaps no better example of this quiet, human courage, than Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the story behind his final, powerful speech, A View from the Mountaintop.
Now, to really feel the weight of what he said that night, you have to get the context. This is 1968. Dr. King's mission had grown. It wasn't just about racial equality anymore, but economic justice for everyone. That's what brought him to Memphis. 2 sanitation workers had just been crushed to death by a faulty truck, and the city's workers were on strike, protesting these absolutely horrific conditions. So when Dr. King arrived to support them, he was walking into an incredibly dangerous and volatile situation. So on April 3rd, the night before he was assassinated, he gets up to give this speech. And he's not ignoring the reality of the situation. He talks about the darkness, but then he says this: "I know somehow that only when it is dark enough can you see the stars." Even in all that struggle, he saw hope. He actually said he was glad to be alive at that moment because he could see people finally waking up.
But let's be clear, he was under no illusions about the risks. He knew he was a target. He knew that the days ahead were going to be difficult, even deadly. And I think that's what's so important to remember. He was a human being. He surely felt that fear, but he didn't run from it. He faced it.
And that's when he says these chilling, powerful words. He says, "I don't know what will happen now, but it doesn't matter because I've been to the mountaintop." It's incredible. He's looking his own mortality right in the eye, acknowledging his own fears and then just looking right past them. He goes on, and you can just hear this vision he has for a future that he's been fighting for his whole life. A future he can see so clearly, even though he knows his own place in it is anything but certain. He says, "And I've looked over, and I've seen the promised land."
And this right here is the ultimate expression of that choice we've been talking about this whole time. The choice to put the movement, the people, the future before yourself. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. That's it. That's the choice. He was making a promise of a future that he was willing to die for so that others could see it. So this really brings it all together, doesn't it? We started out talking about this myth, this idea of heroes as these flawless, larger-than-life figures. But the reality
The reality is so much more inspiring. The reality is that heroes are just people. Flawed, ordinary people who, when that one critical moment arrives, make a choice. And that brings us all the way back to that question from the beginning. It turns out, people who say we have no heroes left, well, they're just wrong. It's not that the heroes are gone. It's that we've been looking for them in all the wrong places.
So, if that's the case, where do we find them? Well, the answer is actually a lot simpler than you might think.
See, they aren't gone. They've never been gone. They've always been here, all around us. In our communities, in our families, at our jobs. They're the ordinary, flawed people who, when they're faced with that difficult moment, they make that quiet, courageous choice. The choice to do the right thing no matter what. That is the kind of heroism that's real. And that's the kind of heroism worth looking for.